Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the place value of decimals. I know that we have used base 10 blocks in the past to represent a certain value, but right now we are going to change the value of the base 10 blocks that we are using. So if you look right here on the screen, you'll see our new base 10 block values. So if I show you a base 10 block that looks like this is what we call a flat. That is now a whole. That is now count as 1. If we look at our long here, our long is now going to be worth 1/10. Because if you look at it carefully, if you look at it carefully, there are 10 of these in one whole, so one of them is going to be 1/10 of the whole. If you look at our next base 10 block, this is a unit. That is going to become 1/100th because there is 100 of these in a whole. So we have our whole, we have 1/10, we have 100th, and we also have 1,000th. Now this is the new one that you guys have not seen yet. The way we can represent a 1,000th is if we zoom in on this hundredth, we blow it up and make it a big, almost look like a flat here, but it's still the unit. And then we section that off into 10 different sections. One of these sections is 1,000th. So if you can imagine right here, there's a little tiny line that is 1,000th. So we have a 1 whole, 1/10, 100th, and 1,000th. Now let's look at what that looks like on a place value chart. So if you look right here, we have our place value chart, and we have our 3 periods that we're used to. We have our ones period, thousands period, and then our millions period over here. However, if you look over here, we now have our decimal places. So in the first slot after our decimal point is going to be tenths. And if you can look up here, there's actually a couple of different ways you can write that. You can either write it as a point and then whatever digit you are using, or you can also do it as the number over 10, so it's 1/10. The next over is hundredths. So we have 1/100th or 0.01. We also have thousandths, which is 1/1000, which equals 0.001. So that one's 3 places over. So if you look carefully at this, and if you're examining this with me, you can actually kind of tell something interesting. If we let's start by looking over here at the place value chart that you've been used to seeing. If I look at my ones place here, if I were to multiply this, well, actually not multiply it, but if I were to ask you the question, what is 10 times greater than 1? Well, you would say 10. So you can see that it moves over 1 to the left. If I asked you about the tens place, if I said, what is 10 times greater than 10? Well, you would tell me it's the 100, which I move one other space over to the left. It also goes the opposite way. The opposite way, though, is 1/10 of. So if I asked you what 1/10 of 100 is, you would be able to tell me it's 10. If I asked you what 1/10 of 10 is, you would tell me 1. Now, if you ask me what 1/10 of 1 is, it's going to be 1/10. 1/10 of 1/10 is 1/100th, and 1/10 of 1/100th is 1/1000th. So we can go up and down the place value chart here just by asking ourselves what is 10 times greater or what is 1/10 of, and that'll bring us around the place value chart. So now we have to think about how we can show a decimal using our base 10 blocks. So if you look right here, I have a number drawn out using base 10 blocks. Now, as you can see, I don't have a whole here, so we're not going to have a whole number here. We're just going to have our decimal. And so let's first start off by figuring out what is going to be in our tenths place right here. What is going to be in our tenths place? Well, if you look right here, I can see how many tenths I have. I know that a long is going to be a tenth, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths. So I know right now that I have 4 tenths right here. How many? Now, I don't have another whole tenth, so I can't count this as a tenth, but I can count it as hundredths, because you see my little unit cubes here? Those are hundredths. So I have 1 100th, 2 100ths, 3 100ths, 4 100ths, and 5 100ths. So right now, can't forget, I almost forgot my decimal point. So right now I have 4 tenths, I have 5 hundredths, and can you guess how many thousandths I have? Well, if you look here, I expanded, or I zoomed in on my last little unit here, or my last hundredth, and I made it a little bit bigger so I could see it. As if you can see here, each of these slots represents 1 1,000th. How many thousandths do I have? 1, 2, 3 thousandths. So if you look here, when I'm talking about decimals, I can say I have 453, because it's the same as if it were on the other side of the decimal point, except for I'm going to look and see where my last digit falls. So my last digit falls in the thousandths place, so I'd say it is 453 thousandths. That is my number here. Now, if you guys remember before, when we were doing place value charts, we also had our different forms. We would have a standard form, we had a word form, and we had an expanded form. So I want you to look here at my different forms. So my first is just standard form. Now this is the one that you guys have definitely, that's just how you write it every day. So my standard form would just be 0.453, or 453 thousandths, just written the way you generally would. Now the next one is going to be my word form. My word form is going to be written as 453 thousandths. Say it just, or spell it, or write it out just like you would say it, 453 thousandths. And last but not least, I have my expanded form. Now this is going to be a little bit different, but it's actually pretty simple if you think about it. So first of all, I'm going to start in my tenths place, and I have the digit 4 in my tenths place. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 1/10, because it's in the tenths place, and I'm going to take that digit and multiply it times 4 times 1/10. Next, I'm going to look in my hundredths place. In my hundredths place, I have a 5, so I'm going to write 5 times 1 100th. And last but not least, I have my thousandths place, and I'm going to write 3 times 1 1,000ths. So those are my different forms that I would use, and you will be seeing a lot more of these different forms coming up. So then the last thing I want you to do on our video today is I want you to answer these last 3 questions. These are pretty simple questions. I want you to look at questions 1, 2, 3. You can kind of look at this place value chart up here if that helps you. And you're going to be answering the question, what is the value of the underlined digit? What is the word form of 312, or sorry, 0.312, or 312 thousandths? What digit in 0.547, or 547 thousandths, is in the hundredths place? So I want you to go ahead, write down those answers in your math journal, and don't forget to do your whisks when you have finished the video. And your whisk, make sure you turn in the video and write a comment telling me, Miss Cassidy, that you watched the video.